Hey, it's Raven again. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Lessons Learned. And I hope you guys are enjoying some of these broadcasts and discussions, and hope they're helping you. And I hope you're sharing it with your friends and stuff too. I want to talk about today just about three things that are really a big problem in the world that we've probably all experienced on some level at some time. Some of us more intensely than others, and that's on fear and anxiety and worry. Those are three things. We live in kind of a scary world. I mean, and some people live in a scarier part of the world than others. I mean, there's people dealing with terrorism and dealing with all kinds of abuse and in different parts of the world from dictators and things like that. I mean, over here in the United States, people complain a lot about all the stuff they're going through, but we have most civilized countries in, like the United States, we don't have a lot of things really to worry about, but it's almost like there's this culture though of worry and fear. I mean, yeah, we were attacked by terrorists and there's lots of things, that seem to be scary and all that, but it's not those big things sometimes that scares us that we have to deal with. It's just every day. I mean, sometimes with worry and anxiety and fear, we get depressed. Depression is a huge problem, even in this country. And I think a lot of it comes from just not having a center, not having a trust in something. It just seems like we're just like subject to our circumstances that we have no control. We like to very often get into this victim mentality where we think we're totally out of control, but in reality is that we're not as out of control as we think. I mean, there are accounts of people like the Jews that were sentenced to the gas chambers by Hitler in World War II. Then that they went into the gas chambers singing songs, and they, even though they stripped them of everything, their dignity and their pride and ultimately their life, they would not let them get to them. Some of them did, some of them didn't. But I've read accounts of just where they drove them crazy because the ones they couldn't break, because they kept in their mind and that this was one thing that was not going to take from them, that they was not going to allow themselves to be subject to fear and subject to worry. I mean, think about what worry is. I mean, and what it accomplishes. You can't, by worrying it changes nothing. You can worry about something and it doesn't change a thing. It doesn't change the circumstance. Very often, what all worry is like a big magnifying glass. It's like looking at making a mountain out of a molehill, as they say. You take this magnifying glass and you look at something and you examine it, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's what worry does. It makes something look like it makes it bigger than it is. It gives us power over us. We've got to get to a point in our lives and I'm saying this from experience, we got to get to this point in our life that we don't let things have power over us. We've got to get control. I've talked about thoughts and how important they are and how they affect other things. But the biggest thoughts that affect us affect the person that affects the most is us. This mind right here is a battlefield, and it's a place where we win or lose in life. It's a place we can worry ourselves literally to death because we become so engulfed in that. So but there's a lot of things that I went through in life, and things that different huge changes in my life, a divorce and different things that's happened in my life. But I want to, I've learned to deal with those things somewhat of a different level, and I've learned tools along the way that have helped me. I don't want to get into all the things that I've been through, but it's important to me because I know that I've learned from those experiences. I've learned something, and I've seen people that are going. I know people that are going through depression. I know people that worry. I know people that are afraid of things, and my heart goes out to them. And I want to help them, and that's one reason why that I'm doing this particular broadcast on fear and worry, because I want you to learn some things that I learned to deal with. I was a single parent for years, had two small children, one teenager that I was raising by myself, and I had to keep a game face on. I learned I didn't let it get to me. I mean, so many people lose it. They turn to drugs, they turn to alcohol, they turn to anger, they take it out on their kids, and that are completely innocent in a particular situation. And with that, I'd just like throw out to everybody, anybody that's parents out there. You can be parents, still be good parents, and not be together. You can still be good parents and be divorced, even, believe it or not. I mean, I know it's not the ideal situation, but the fact of the matter is, there's lots of different families. We have to broaden our definition of family, and so we have, so that we've got, but don't take it out on your kids. Work together as parents to make your kids, learn from your and model before them what you should, what they need to know for life. But let me deal with this first thing. First of all, let me deal with fear. There's somebody said fear stands for letters fear, FEAR, stands for false evidence appearing real. That's a very profound statement because that's usually what it is. I mean, usually what you're afraid of, they say 90% of the things that we worry about, that they'll never happen. And I think that's true. Fear is something that grips us, something that squeezes us, something that just gets us to a point where we could be afraid of just being afraid. We just get to a point we don't know what we're afraid of anymore. We judge how often we judge that we see and hear, and we create an image that we fear. In reality, we have nothing to base our fears upon. There's such thing as danger, don't get me wrong, and it's got to be dealt with, and it should be dealt with, but dealt with courageously. But fear itself is a feeling. You feel hot, you feel cold, you feel afraid. Too much hot, too much cold, too much fear, it can kill you. It can kill you not only physically, but long before it kills you physically, it'll kill your mind and spirit and soul. It could turn the most valiant of heroes into a blubbering, thumb-sucking weakling. But here's the reality, though, and I want you to understand this. Fear is an illusion. It is a figment of your imagination, a product of your mind. It's your imagination used wrongly. To control your imagination and to be untouchable by fear, though struck down by real danger, you still win. To respond in fear to any situation, you've already lost, unless you realize it soon enough and pull out of its vortex that will surely drag you down to destruction if you allow it. The battle is not won or lost on the battlefield. It's won or lost right here. So, think about, like, for example, when you sit on a chair, you believe it's going to hold you. You sit down in it. It's like, I got faith in this chair. I mean, how often do we get in our car and we push on that gas, and we're going down the road, and this machine that has all this power and that could kill us, and we're driving around in it, but we have faith, that it's going to do what we want it to do when we put our foot on the gas and put our foot on the brake. But if you begin to overanalyze and you create up all kinds of made up reasons in your mind, say why you think the chair will not hold you, well, what does that accomplish? I mean, that only results in you being very tired from standing when you could have just sat down and rested. And then someone comes along, sits in a chair, and you feel really stupid. Well, this is fear. It's the opposite of faith. So even when you fight, like people that are warriors, people that I know in martial arts, this is real big, and people that fight with traditional weapons, not so much with guns and stuff, but when you fight, with traditional weapons, or you fight in martial arts or something, you don't have to be as strong as your opponent and push against the attacker and push him back. It's more effective to redirect the motion of an attack and use the attacker's force and momentum to your advantage. That's what a good fighter will do. I mean, there's a whole martial art called Aikido that's built all around this. All it is redirecting force. But it's the same with fear. You've got to redirect its force and turn that which was meant to destroy you into something that serves you. Fear should be your slave and not your master, because you deflect every attack, you win every battle, and fear and the enemy's lies are not defended in your own strength, or perceived as things to appear, but are defended with the truth of the matter. You trust your quest will succeed. You proceed from a place of confidence and a trust in who you are. And you do this, and you do it. If you do it in all things, then look at life that way, because you do have an enemy out there. But there was an old Pogo comic strip a long time ago that came out. I don't even know if Pogo's even if there's even a comic strip called that in the funny papers that usually come out on Sunday, and he said, "We have met the enemy, and they is us," And I think that's probably the truth most of the time. We are our own worst enemy. We get to a point to where we think we're just the most important thing in the world, and we're the center of the universe, and and the universe is picking on us, and everything that's going wrong in our life, is because we're getting picked on, poor little us, and it becomes all about us, But I'm gonna tell you some things that I've learned along the way, and the things that I've been through and stuff too about how to overcome this. Anxiety attacks is something that's real big. I can tell you about somebody that, I know even myself, really, I'll just start with myself, but, anxiety attacks, I mean, man, how devastating those attacks can be. They're very real, and so many people choose to treat them with drugs, and maybe sometimes some of those drugs work. But I'm telling you, you got to deal with the mind. Even if you take some kind of drug that seems to be helping, you still got to get to a point to where you still deal with the mental realm. You deal, with what's wrong with your thoughts, and you got to get those right. I mean, I used to get it so bad it was just literally I felt like sometimes like a foot was just on my chest, and was just holding me down and laughing at me, and it would feel tight in my chest, and sometimes I'd get short of breath, and I'd get so afraid, and for no reason at all, just like fear from everywhere, just overwhelmed me and just overcoming me, and so this squeezing the life out of me. It was crazy, and I didn't understand it. But some things I've learned about it that might help you, and I hope it helps you, and I've told some other people about this too, and it's helped them, is one thing that I've come to a conclusion for as far as anxiety goes, to me, and I don't know if it's any book anywhere or anything else, but it makes sense to me, and maybe it's not always the case, but anxiety is pent up energy. You see, we're built in such a way that we have this fight or flight response, and it served us well all through history. I mean, whenever we were surviving, especially in the wild, before when we were living more outdoors. If we were attacked by a wild animal, then this instinct would come on us. We'd come to this, and this strength would go through us. And now science tells us there's an adrenaline flow and a rush that goes through you that allows you to be able to run more quickly and get away from something, or to have the courage and the strength to fight something. You read instances all the time of people, even like lifting up a car off of somebody just because this rush of adrenaline that gives them strength. I don't know how common that is, but the fact of the matter is, though, we're living in a civilized time now, and we don't have so much battles to fight with swords, or we don't have wild animals to fight. Most of us don't. There's probably people in the world that do. But all this energy gets stored up in us because the same response is there. That don't change. We want to fight it or we want to flee. And that anxiety gets quelled up in us, and it becomes like an energy stored in us. And that energy inside of us causes this reaction in us that I believe causes an anxiety attack. What we know is an anxiety attack. And you can drug it and all that you want, but sooner or later you've got to realize that you got to do something with this energy. It can even put a taxing effect upon your adrenal gland. There are people that have like adrenal gland problems because they've had so many anxiety attacks, and sometimes supplements even help with that. But we got to realize that this pent up energy's got to go somewhere. And one thing that I found that worked for me is a couple of things is exercise. One thing that helps, because I realized that if I had all this energy stored in me, that it had to come out somehow. And so I mean, if you can exercise, go out and walk, really do something, or even take a jog or something, or beat on a bag, punching bag or something, whatever that is you like. But you need to expend this energy somehow if you're a person particularly that's suffering from anxiety attacks. And another thing that helped me too is meditation. And I know there's some weird meditation out there, like and stuff, and there's a lot of New Age stuff that's got into that, and there's a lot of even Eastern religions, that make something bigger out of it than it is, like some kind of enlightenment thing. But meditation is, it's even spoken of in the Bible. It's very real. All meditation is you got to intentionally, sit down. You don't have to sit with your legs crossed and incense burning and with your hands in the air like this lotus position. You don't have to do that. That you're missing the point of it, meditation if you do. Just get comfortable. I mean, if you want to sit in that position, it's fine if it's comfortable for you, but you want to get comfortable. I just sit on the couch. I get in a comfortable position, and then you want to take 3 deep breaths. And these breaths, I mean, this is something you can do too. I mean, when you feel an anxiety attack coming on, or you're worried or fearful about something, make yourself take 3 big breaths. And it will, not fast breaths, just letting the air out slow like that. It helps. And that has an immediate calming effect. It does. And then close your eyes, and it helps me sometimes to have like some kind of music or something like going on YouTube. There's a lot of really good meditation videos with music and stuff. Find the ones that appeal to you. Can be, music or some chants or something. I mean, just whatever, nature sounds. It can be anything. I mean, I love the sound of water. I mean, if you blessed enough to live somewhere where there's like a river or creek or something like that, excuse me, then go to a real creek, but just sit down there and close your eyes. And you want to get to the state of oneness. And I'm not making this, not nothing mystical or anything like that. All it is you're concentrating, focusing on one thing. You're making your thoughts, instead of being out of control, you're bringing your thoughts into control. You're bringing your thoughts and not allowing them to think what they want to think. Even the Bible talks about, that your imagination can run wild, so you got to bring your thoughts into captivity. You've got to control your thoughts. And meditation helps that, because you sit there and you can focus. Just try to focus on one thing. Try to focus on the sound of the water, or the sound of the music, or your sound of your breathing. Or sometimes you might want to just focus on word like peace or something like that. All these things help, but one thing that I've learned that really helped me a lot as far as meditation goes is not trying to fight back these thoughts that are trying to invade your mind at this time, but to take in those thoughts and acknowledge them and then let them pass through. Just like a bird flying across your mind. You can look at the bird as it's flying by, but then let it fly by, because you can't stop the bird from flying by. So you need to realize that those thoughts are going to come, and you just need to acknowledge the thought and then send it on its way. So that's very, very important. A thing to do. That's one way to do it. Meditation really, really helps, and you need to do at least like 15-minute meditation. You should try to eventually get to at least like a 20-minute or 30 minutes. You should do it regularly. It should be something you do. If you can't do it every day, do it 2 or 3 times a week. Don't let a week go by though without it. Even our mistake that we make a lot of times is when we're doing okay, we don't take care of ourselves. We don't do the things that we're going to need. I mean, but certain things that we need to practice though, that even when we're feeling good and when we don't need them, we still need to practice them. So that helps. Try meditation. Try just calming yourself. Try going on a walk. Try thinking about other things. But don't let your thoughts have power over you. Like I just said, make fear your slave. Don't let it be your master. And just by doing that, I mean, you're not fighting it. You're just acknowledging it and let it pass through. By that way, you're taking control. You're not letting it control you. Does that make sense? Another thing that you can do too is fill your mind with positive thoughts. Now, there's a technique to this. You don't just think the thoughts. You need to say certain things out loud. You need to speak those things out loud. It's very important. There's a book that helped me, and and I don't care what you think about Joyce Meyer or whatever. But there's a book called The Battlefield of Mind, and that book literally saved my life, because until I read that book, I didn't realize that I was not at the mercy of my thoughts. I thought that my thoughts, I had no control over them, and as a result, those thoughts were running havoc in my mind, making me afraid, giving me worry, giving me fears, constantly, and they were ruling me. But in there, that she's the one that talks about it. She said, you do have control over your thoughts. You don't. It's like Grandma used to say about you can let a bird if a bird gets in your hair, you don't have to let it nest there. Just because it flies over your head, you don't have to provide it a nest. So same with your thoughts. Just because those thoughts come in your head, it don't mean you got to keep thinking them. Replace those thoughts with something that's more positive. Say those thoughts out loud. Bible verses do help. If you get a there's books that are actually out that are topically arranged, and you look up fear, and it'll have all these verses, about what the Bible says about fear. And you can say those verses out loud. It's very, very important that you say them out loud, because you need to hear it with your ears. Your mind needs to hear it, and you come in agreement with that positive statement. And and when you do that, then it changes everything. It changes the whole chemical makeup of your thoughts, basically. It replaces those thoughts with something that's useful. So I mean, and I recommend that book. I mean, get the book, The Battlefield of the Mind. I'm trying to avoid anybody out here listening thinking, oh, he's getting on religion and all this stuff, because I want to try to help everyone that I can. But you'd be foolish to ignore these techniques. You'd be foolish to ignore, what the Bible says just because religion has messed it up. You'd be foolish to ignore what wise people say, just because of whatever, that you don't agree with. So, yeah, I am going to be saying things, and I'll be talking some about my faith even along the way and stuff. But these are things that are real. These are things that you can count on. These are things that work. These are things I've actually done. I mean, I know somebody that literally was at the point in their life to where they found themselves on a public restroom floor, curled up by a toilet, and just like, so full of fear, so worried, and I know what they went through, and they had to get to a point to where they said, I'm not going to live like this, and they had to get to that point. I've tried different things. I've tried as far as herbs and supplements too. I mean, some people, St. John's wort and Sam E, works. It didn't work for me. But some people like, say, and I think that probably herbal supplements I would prefer and recommend more than the drugs. I mean, but if it's drugs that you go to a doctor and you tell them your condition and you want to try something and it helps you, then fine. But if it don't, then don't just, don't dose yourself up with other stuff, and definitely avoid recreational drugs. Definitely avoid narcotics and things like that. Definitely avoid drinking, and stuff like that, because it's a downhill slope. I mean, that's not the answer, because the answer is right up here in this mind. You got to deal with these thoughts. That's where the battle's going on at. So that's where you got to deal with it at. I have found, I think magnesium helps, is one thing that helped me. It's got a very calming effect on the nerves. There's even a product called Calm that's actually a magnesium kind of a drink that fizzes up when you stir it into the water. So I mean, stuff like that helps. You got to watch things like your caffeine content. If you're a person that's having trouble with anxiety, you got to really watch your caffeine, and you got to watch your sugar, because all these things just exasperate the situation. It just, it causes nervousness, so, and, you can talk to your doctor about the things you're taking. If they're a good doctor, they're going to look at the nutrition, that you're eating and things like that. There's things that have a calming effect. There are certain foods that have calming effects, and there are certain foods that agitate, and everybody's different on that. So you got to figure out, if that's the case. I recommend a detox. The most healthiest detox I was taught by Island Healing down in Southport, North Carolina, and the people there taught me about a detox, where you basically it's 21 days, but 2 weeks you eat nothing but vegetables and water. That doesn't include corn. You get off corn, get off potatoes, get off bread. Drink nothing but water, good clean water. And then after 2 weeks, you can add eggs, and then after 3 weeks, I think it is, you can add meat back in. But pay attention though during this detox to everything you add back in your diet. How does it affect you? Make a note of it, keep a journal of it, whatever. And figure out what foods are agitating you, what foods are bothering you. So that's all important. That's you pay attention to things like that. It'll help. But learn to bring your thoughts into captivity. Learn what anxiety is. Learn what fear is. Self-talk is very important. You need to talk to yourself. I'm not. It sounds like I'm telling you to be crazy, but but whenever you're going through something and all these thoughts are bombarding your mind, you need to talk to yourself. You need to tell yourself you're okay. Calm yourself down. It's nothing to worry about. And like there was one preacher that said, well, there's only two things in life to worry about: things you can control and things you can't control. He said, if it's something you can control, then do something about it. If it's something you can't control, well, there's nothing you can do about it anyway. So, and there's some truth to that. So worry does not help. Worry only makes things worse. And you got to realize that. But you do have the power. Realize that you have the power to control your thoughts. You have the power to, you don't have to let your thoughts rule you. You don't have to let your fears rule you. Another thing you got to do too is look who's being a drain on you. I mean, there are people in life. I mean, that's all they are a drain. They constantly, they have, it seems like their only purpose in life is to make you mad, to make you angry, to make you, it just, you gotta get certain people out of your life. I mean, whether you want to or not, you need to really examine who you're surrounding yourself with. Surround yourself with people that have a positive effect on you. And get people in your life out. I mean, some people you ain't got no choice. You got to deal with them, and if that's the case, then find a way to deal with it. But for the most part, I mean, we do have a choice, and I'm not saying isolate yourself from the world, because that's not the answer either. You need to learn to face your fears, but to a certain extent. But you need to surround yourself with positive individuals and get certain people out of your life, because some people are a drain on your life. You want people that will feed positive things into your life. Get your mind off of things. Be creative. That helps too. If you're like, take on a hobby. If you paint or draw or, or write or something, that helps. All these different things like this that are positive help you to do these things. So, I mean, use that to your advantage. Think about, what you can do to have a more positive influence in your life. It might be sitting by a fire. It might be might be taking walks. It might be, I'm blessed to live here in the mountains. I mean, we got streams and stuff all around us. Those good sounds that have a calming effect. Nature really, really helps. Get out in nature. I don't care what it is, find some way to take a walk in a park or in a trail or on the mountains or something, but get into nature. Nature really has a calming effect just to be out there. So don't let worry overcome you. Don't let anxiety overcome you. Don't let fear overcome you. Surround yourself with the right people. Find what tools work for you. I really recommend reading that book, Battlefield of the Mind. I think it'll help you. Get some kind of positive affirmation book or something. Every little bit helps. Prayer helps. And I mean, praying and asking, realizing and just acknowledging that you cannot do this in yourself. Is what prayer does, and you're just lifting up your voice and saying, I can't do this by myself, and you're asking for help, from God, and I think that God will help you. And it's the same with getting the right people around you, stuff like I was talking about. Sometimes it helps to have an accountability partner. You need to find one person in your life, or at least that you can talk to. Counseling helps on some level, but you got to decide. I mean, there's too many bad counselors out there, that give you a lot of bad advice and that don't really help. So if you can find a counselor that is really there for you and that makes sense and is actually helping you, be honest with yourself. Just because they're a counselor or whatever, or therapist, that doesn't necessarily mean that they know it all. So find somebody that actually helps you. I mean, when I went through the stuff that I was going through in my life, I didn't have a church. I didn't have no person. There's one person in my life that I knew that I could call, and that person would always build me up. He'd always pray with me, and he helped me a lot through what I was going through. He helped me to believe in myself, helped me to hold it together. So I mean, that helps. If you can get at least one friend, but believe me, if you can't, you can still do this. You can do this by yourself. I want you to understand something, that ultimately it is up to you. Nobody can do this for you. You've got to take control of your life. You got to take control of your worry, your fear, your anxiety. You're the one that's got to do that. Ultimately, it's you that's going to have to do it. So, be able to stand alone. You got to get to that point to where you can stand alone, and that you can handle this, and you're capable of doing a lot more than you realize. But realize that ultimately you can't depend on anybody. Don't be a drain on somebody. I mean, Even like couples, I mean, you hear this whole Hollywood thing, you complete me. Nobody can complete you. No human being can complete you. If you think another human being can complete you, then you're going to end up being a drain on that other human being. You know, realize it's something you've got to do. You've got to be yourself. You've got to be complete in yourself. You know, when you do that, then it's gonna help you, because ultimately you do need to be able to stand alone. You just do. You know, and that's just the reality of it. You know, find books, read things, read positive things. You know, read inspirational stories. Uh, you know, all these different things like this help. But don't let your thoughts get out of control. Don't worry. Don't be afraid. You know, even in the Bible it says there's 365 places in the Bible that say don't be afraid. You know, so I mean it's like one for every day of the year. You know, so don't be afraid. I mean, it's face what you need to face, do what you got to do, get your head on straight, get your head on in the game, and don't let it overcome you. Just determine yourself. You're not going to be destroyed. You're not going to be defeated. That you're going to win. And if you can do that, then then you're going to experiment and find tools and things that will work. And eventually you will find some things that work for you. It might not be exactly because there's no book written that can cover each individual person. We're all individuals, and we all got to find out what works for us. So find those tools that work for you. And I hope, you'll try maybe some of these things I've suggested. And I hope some of this helps you. And maybe I'll be talking more on this another time, because it's an important subject, I think, because there's a lot of people out there, but definitely, if you're at a point where you feel like killing yourself, or you feel like you just can't do it, please find somebody that will help you, that will listen to you, and if that's what it takes. I mean, if you just cannot do it yourself, but you're going to have to be honest with yourself. You're going to have to realize that you cannot do it in and of yourself. You need a power outside of yourself. I believe in God. I believe He will help you. But you've got to work at it. You've got to take your thoughts captive. There's work that you've got to do for yourself, and only you can do. So anyway, I hope it's helped. It's another long one, it looks like, but maybe I'm gonna have to start breaking these up in 10-15 minute segments or something. But anyway, I hope this helps, and we'll be talking to you more in the future. And visit my website, wayoftheraven.net. Read some of my blogs. I've got a lot of thoughts on. There's also stuff you can listen to, meditations actually, on my website. Just click on wayoftheraven.net, and then go to click on the button that says Pathfinder Radio, and there's a little section there on that page called Meditations, and it addresses a lot of different subjects like fear and worry. Only about like 10-15 minute long segments, but it's music to listen to. It tells you it's like a guided meditation, almost. So that'll help you with this time. So look at that if you would. So I hope this helps, and if you got any questions, let me know. Raven@wayoftheraven.net, or comment below. If there's anything I can say or do, then let me know. I'll be glad to do it. So this is Raven. I'll talk to you next time.